transmitter pod with me that first time when I was alone.
Hello there and welcome back to Icelandic Psycho. Today we're going to be talking about a very fascinating subject, the Fly franchise, which just might be one of the strangest horror journeys in the history of cinema. It starts in 1958 as a classic piece of sci-fi melodrama, turns into pulpy sequels, disappears for 20 years, and then re-emerges as one of the most horrifying, heartbreaking remakes ever made. It's a series that keeps reinventing itself from black and white tragedy to gothic mystery, and finally to pure body horror. I actually like every single one of these movies. Even the weaker entries have some style and some fun to it, but some definitely fly higher than others.
If you haven't seen these films, I hope this video will inspire you to do so, and I will try to not overly spoil them, leaving something left for you to enjoy.
We're ranking all 5 of the Fly films, from the shaky experiments to the full genetic perfection.
Number 5. Return of the Fly.
A desperate search for the Fly with the head of a man. Yeah.
So this film follows Philippe, son of Andre from the first film.
He wants to work on the same experiments as his father did. Story-wise, it's more of a rerun than a sequel.
History repeats itself.
As many sequels are, or number 2 anyways. I mean, the third one often tries something else. This film was shot in black and white due to the fact that they had only half of the budget from the first film, and I don't think that the monster would have been any more impactful in color.
I don't think so, even though Vincent Price, he really thought it would be.
They were trying to make it bigger and better, but they just made it bigger and hilarious.
The Fly's still out of its day.
This great-looking fly head was not worn by actor Brett Halsey, rather a sideshow performer, circus man named Ed Wolf, who was 7'4", and he's having a bit of a problem keeping this head up. You can see it in this scene right here.
It's not scary, but it's fun, and it keeps the legacy alive.
It was shot in just 10 days, a quick turnaround even for the late 50s, and like the original and Curse of the Fly, it was filmed in CinemaScope. By this point, Vincent Price was starting to be recognized as a true horror icon, and he actually gives a stronger performance here than in the first film. There's a fight scene in this film that's pretty good, well, for its time anyway, except for the obvious stunt doubles, but that's how it is sometimes.
It doesn't have the ambition of the first film. It feels like a rushed sequel in a way, but if you watch it on its own, it's a nice little film, like a B-monster movie with some film noir elements that I quite enjoy.
Number 4. Curse of the Fly.
Humans invisibly teleported through time and space.
So this one is the odd one out in the series. This time around, there's no fly creature. The Fly is back.
You lie!
This film follows Henry Delambre and his sons, Albert and Martin. They continue the experiments, but not without some flaws. In the beginning, Martin finds this girl half naked outside a mental hospital and marries her within a week.
Right.
And the continuity doesn't make any sense. I mean, who's Henry? Is he Philippe from the Return of the Fly?
Is it someone's father, brother's, nephew's, cousin's former roommate? I don't know. I'm not quite sure.
Even Inspector Shara shows up from the original film, but he was probably in his late 60s there, so he's what, 115 years old here? I mean, it's probably 50 years after that film. And when he's obviously speaking of Andre as the Fly, he shows a picture of Philippe as the Fly. But who took that photo? Oh wait, there we go. Deleted scene.
Well, the film has atmosphere to spare. The opening to this film is fantastic. Patricia Stanley escapes from an asylum through a broken window.
And by the end, she is smashing glass again to escape the Delambre mansion.
That's actually kind of brilliant.
The cinematography here is the best out of the classic trilogy.
That eerie mid-60s British horror film look. Story-wise, it's smarter than Return. It's part haunted house, part science fiction tragedy.
With a few tweaks, this film could have easily been its own thing.
If the first 2 were monster movies, this one feels like a story of guilt and obsession. Martin's former wife, which he's still married to, is locked in a chamber somewhere, half human, half whatever.
Martin being remarried and no longer wants anything to do with her. I think they could have used that element more profoundly in the film.
Just to elevate it more. But I think this is a fascinating little film. It's an underrated gem, even with its flaws.
Number 3. The Fly 2.
Like father, like son. I think that's a pretty weird way to market the film, and director Chris Wallace, he agrees with that. He was the one that made the practical effects, the fly effects from the first film, and he won an Academy Award for this. This is an underrated gem as well, underrated sequel, no doubt. After Cronenberg's 1986 masterpiece, expectations were impossible, but The Fly 2 deserves more credit than it gets. It follows Seth Brundle's son, raised inside a cold corporate lab. You can really feel the atmosphere there. He's watched by men in suits who see him as an experiment, not as a person. Eric Stoltz, he does a solid job balancing this tone. He's supposed to be 5 years old, and he balances innocence and mutation. Daphne Sunigasi is good as Beth, but I can't help but feeling that these two are just lesser versions of the couple we get in The Fly, 1986. I decided to view this film before I viewed The Fly. That made it better. But viewing it after The Fly, of course, makes it worse because you're comparing it to it, but nonetheless, good film.
I'm a bit puzzled about one thing though, because in The Fly 1986, Veronica makes an attempt to get rid of the baby because he's really scared.
I want it out of my body now. You should have seen him.
And she's maybe, 2 months pregnant at the end of the film at the most, so what happened in these 7 months?
I have to say that the romantic montage somewhere in the middle of the film, and they've only met once. It feels out of place. Soon after that, we go to that dog scene. Feels like two different films. The dog scene, you know which one I'm talking about. Impactful scene. A perfect example of how this film still taps into the sadness and cruelty of scientific ambition. Lee Richardson, he's excellent in this film. Real highlight performance. The calm, manipulative villain who ends up getting exactly what he deserves. And John Getz, he returns from the first film. He doesn't have much screen time, but he's really good here, connecting the stories nicely. The gore, the creature work, the animatronics is a bit over the top. This late 80s practical effects at their most elaborate.
I've always found they went overboard with the creature in this film. I mean, what's up with this Flyzilla thing?
It's not as philosophical or elegant as Cronenberg's film, but it's brutal, emotional, and surprisingly moving in places.
Number 2. The Fly, 1958.
Once it was human, even as you and I. The film that started it all. This is a film that still feels classy, almost Shakespearean in its tragedy. It's not just about a man turning into a fly, it's about a marriage destroyed by science and obsession. Patricia Owens carries the film quite well. She has most of the screen time. She's the emotional center in the film. Her fear feels real. Her grief feels earned. David Haddison, as a scientist, as Andre, that turns into the fly, he appears in the film maybe half an hour into the film. He gives the best performance in this film. Yes, I did say that. I know Vincent Price is in the film, and of course Vincent Price has a great presence.
Haddison, he portrays so well this excitement and joy for his experiments and his life, which makes it all the more sadder what's about to happen.
I hadn't seen this film in about maybe 10 years. It was surprisingly haunting, surprisingly well made for its time. I mean, people were really scared. This scared the heck out of people back in the days, and I can see why.
That towel reveal scene, oh boy.
The scream, the music cue, it's unforgettable. The way he sees her in so many ways. That was a great thing to do. For 1958, the effects were stunning. The story is smart and morally complex, and the direction polished. It's a perfect blend of pathos and pulp. This film, of course, is the first film in the series. It's based on the short story by George Langlian. I'm not really sure how to pronounce that. I read the story. There are a few differences there, but the film really follows the story quite well. Lots of dialogue from the story and such, but actually, fascinatingly enough, in the original story, he's a cat-fly hybrid. Imagine that.
Number 1. The Fly, 1986.
There was never really any doubt, was there?
You're changing, Seth. Everything about you is changing.
Oh no. What's happening to me? Am I dying?
Cronenberg's masterpiece remake, Be Afraid. Be very afraid. Cronenberg directs this film with total control, turning grotesque transformation into pure emotion, takes the core of the original idea, a teleportation gone wrong, and turns it into one of the most devastating love stories in horror. Jeff Goldblum as Seth Brundle is perfection, because at first, he's quirky, brilliant, full of excitement, but once he fuses with a fly, the transformation is slow, painful, and terrifying. Watching Seth lose control physically and mentally is disturbing, but also deeply sad. Gina Davis is really good here. She gives the film its soul. Her reactions, curiosity, fear, heartbreak are what keeps the story grounded. And then Status Borans, played by John Getz, he's pretty good in this film as well. He's someone you end up rooting for in the end, which is fascinating because he's kind of like an asshole, but you can feel he's trying to be more of an asshole than he really is. The practical effects are some of the best ever put on film. I mean, for that time, it's just 10 out of 10, no doubt. It's gruesome, but also operatic. Howard Shore, thunder score, elevates the film. It builds up this sadness. It's almost like a requiem for humanity. The film's genius is that it never forgets the humanity behind the monster. It's not just a remake. It's a whole reinvention of what horror can do. Such a great body horror film. What a collection of films. One of the most fascinating film series of all time. Yes, I did say that. Because the concept, it's quite interesting. What I love about this series is how each era reflects a different kind of fear. In the 50s, it's the fear of science and the unknown. In the 60s, it's the fear of legacy and guilt. In the 80s, it's the fear of transformation, of our own bodies betraying us. Every entry, even the weaker ones, adds a new layer to that theme. The Fly isn't just about a man turning into an insect, it's about the cost of curiosity, the dangers of obsession, and the tragedy of love lost to something we can't control. So this has been my ranking of these fantastic Fly films. What's your ranking? Tell me yours. I mean, this is just my ranking. What's yours? Which version of The Fly do you think deserves more attention? Let me know in the comments below.
And before you teleport out of here, don't forget to fly into that subscribe button.
Ha ha!